So good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for coming to the Orientation Expert Group session. Today we're going to be talking about wearables. We're going to be talking about wearable technology, and we're talking about emerging trends and how wearables may impact orientation of consumers. So how can we reach consumers through wearables? My name's Victor Hoong, as Arian introduced. I'm a director within Deloitte in consumer business. Started in Deloitte in 2000 in the London office and was focused around customer experience transformations. And as you all are probably aware, that's really become about digital transformations today. So I moved to the Netherlands 3 years ago, and I've been focused on consumer business, on the consumer business industry, and helping companies like Canon, Heineken, Coca-Cola, and Ahold with digital transformations. I'm representing today the Orientation Expert Group. It's a fantastic set of 37 or so members, all with expertise in marketing, all from various different companies and backgrounds. And together we are tackling the central question of how can you reach the consumer or the customer in the year 2020? How can you cut through the noise, make them aware of your products and your services? And how do you get them to become engaged in your products and services? So far, we've looked at some best practices. So we've had a scan of the publicised stories about orientation techniques, as we call them, in the industry, and we've chosen some best practices, usually relatively mainstream best practices, those that have proven that they can engage consumers and that they can get consumers to think about an organisation's products and services. What we start to do now is we start to think about trends, and particularly emerging trends, and that's why I would like to talk about wearables today. The reason why we think about emerging trends of today is because in 7 years' time, in 2020, the trends that we have just emerging today will some of those trends may fundamentally shape how we shop in 2020. And I think, we believe that wearables might be one of these trends. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that. Before we talk about wearables, though, and to kind of think about how emerging trends appear and how they develop, I'd like to take a look back in time, a short look back in time, at the history of orientation or the history of digital marketing at the beginning part of a consumer journey. So let's start 70 years ago. It's 1943, and it's World War II. And it's the height of the World War. There's a battle going on in the Netherlands, and the battle is not so physical because the Germans took the Netherlands by surprise and quickly took over and occupied the land. But by 1943, the Dutch resistance had begun to become organised and had begun to create a cell system. And they wanted to capture the hearts and the minds of the Dutch citizens, to recruit them into the ranks and fight against the German occupation. At the same time, the Germans wanted to recruit, wanted to play down the risks of the Dutch rise and wanted to persuade the Dutch to stay away from the war. And at that time, I'm going to switch on, another time, the television was just emerging. As a new technology was there, it was just emerging. But the thing was only in very rich people's homes. There weren't very many TVs around. So the way to reach the masses was through propaganda, paper propaganda, as you know. And here you see a real illustration from one of the propaganda by the Dutch resistance. And in the middle here, the German propaganda, Steeds dezelfde vijand, with I think, if you take away the backdrop of here, a fantastic and very compelling story there, reflecting the Dutch siding with the Germans as in 1673 against the British. So the way to reach the consumers at the time was through print. And the TV was only emerging. Nobody would have used it for marketing, nobody. Zoom 50 years forwards, it's now 1983. And TV advertising is the way to reach your audience. TVs are in every home. And there's even programs that have come up like Amazing Discoveries that were all about selling and promoting products. Who remembers Amazing Discoveries? I was told it was quite popular here in the Netherlands. So this fantastic guy, Mike Levy, would introduce new amazing discoveries, fantastic products that you would have never have seen before, you would have never have come across them before, but by gosh, did they make you lose weight, and by gosh, could they clean your car and make it spick and span. And it was basically content-based marketing. He was explaining the benefits, and he had all the statistics of the other products that wouldn't work and why these particular products would work. So he's selling the vision, selling the benefits, and he was using a very immersive technology to do that, television. At this time, who would have said that Amazon would have been appearing also? The internet access had just started. Sorry, this is 1993. Amazon had just started. This web page appeared in 1993 in the States. Amazon appeared. Who would have said that looking at that web page, Amazon would be one of the most dominant retailers that we know today, and probably one of the leading retailers in the next 10 years? Who would have thought? Internet emerges. 10 years ago, 2003, Amazon.com is mainstream. Most people have started to try it, started to use it, and they can see that you'll order products online. A new trend emerges. A guy called Mark Zuckerberg in Harvard University gets together with some former friends, and they create an app called FaceMash. And the idea of FaceMash is that other students could take pictures of friends, upload them onto the site, and quite an evil idea, you could vote which of those were the hottest or the fittest or the most beautiful girl or boy from those pictures. And Mark realizes people really get engaged. They really want to use this type of social media channel. And he realizes that that's because this is about people. And he realizes that actually what people find most interesting are other people. It's hardwired into us as humans to be very aware of other people and to try and engage and interact with them. So he decides to build one of the first social networks. And as you know, it's now Facebook. And as you know, it is now a very disruptive form of marketing. 6 years ago, 2007, Steve Jobs and Apple launched the first iPhone. An incredible product. Not only incredible because you could use it for phoning, because you could use it for the internet, because you could download emails, but also amazing and incredible because it was so easy to use. And that's the point that I want to come back to. It was so easy to use. You could touch it, it would be responsive, it would change depending upon context so that you could use it more easily. And that's why in just a couple of years, millions of people have bought iPhones. Millions of people were using them. And that's why we now see HTC, Samsung, and many other smartphones in the market. And what I want to get across in this session is that maybe, just maybe, these consumer devices will become more easy, more natural to use, and we will use them even more. And then the options for us as marketeers start to increase. And how will we use that? The thing about the smartphone is we're still trying to figure out how to get the most out of it. And I'd like to play you a short video because I don't think we've got there yet with the smartphone. So some of us are still trying to figure out how can businesses make the most out of it. I'd like to play you a short movie from Adidas, who created a concept in October of 2012 called Adidas Window Shopping. I'd like to quickly play that for you now.
We set out to change a piece of retail forever. That's why we teamed up with Adidas, the brand that is all in on innovation. Their teen brand, Neo, was chosen for the solution. Nowadays, when shoppers come to a store after closing hours, they're basically left window shopping. On the other hand, those retailers often have great e-commerce solutions available around the clock. But what if you combine the two properties into one? Well, first of all, our store would never be closed, but there was an even bigger opportunity to create a truly amazing brand experience. Within 10 months of rapid prototyping, we went through multiple versions and built a fully functional prototype. The experience speaks for itself. Touch, drag and explore the products, all in life size right in front of you. We used professional dancers for the interactive shoot to pull off some pretty impressive moves. Since smartphones are now our customers' first screen, we wanted the system to integrate in the easiest possible way with the devices. But we knew that asking people to find, download and open an app without connection was way too time consuming. In the end, we found a way that was so great we had to patent it.
Ja, und dadurch, dass man die Möglichkeit hat, eben sich mit dem Handy zu verbinden, ist es gut. Wir haben eigentlich nur diesen PIN eingegeben und dann konnte man direkt Artikel reinziehen und das hat man dann direkt gesehen.
If If you know how to use a shopping bag, you know how to use our shopping bag. Just drag and drop the products straight to your mobile phone. Our users could walk away with the stuff they like and then purchase it later in their own comfort zone. And of course share their chosen favorites with friends. The results have been great. The system was highly engaging, driving conversions in the e-com daily. But additionally, up to 90% of direct bypassers' attention was caught, and around 1 in 4 entered the store after playing with the window. Still, we never imagined how well the product was received, not just by shoppers, but by press and bloggers as well. Because of all this, we are already planning the next rollout as we speak. We put shopping into window shopping.
That was Adidas's window shopping. I have to do things self-service over here. So Adidas window shopping, I think, is a great concept, and I'd like to see what you think of it. If you've downloaded the Super Event app, can you raise your hand? Do I have some participants? Okay, we're going to start some votes now. I want you to think about whether this will be a successful concept, because that's the thing, there's so many concepts out there right now. Do we think this one's going to be a successful concept? So this is already 1 year ago that Adidas did this concept, and I had the fortunate opportunity to speak to the VP of Global E-Commerce, Jacqueline, about this project, and she was in charge of this project a couple of weeks ago. And she said they were definitely going to take this forward in one shape or form or another because it was so successful for them. So that's 1 year ago they trialed this. Let's think. Maybe Christmas is coming up. It's the last week of November. And all of a sudden, Adidas has produced this window shopping and it's rolled out to some key sports brand stores in key cities around the Netherlands. You're walking through, walking through a city. It's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. Most things are closed. There's not that much going on. And you come across a Neo store. What I want to get a measure of is what's your reaction to it? How much would you try and interact and use that store? So if you've got the Super Event app, then please open it. Please log into this session, which will be in the first track. Hoe kan je in 2020 de klant nog bereiken? Thank you. And you can have to click on the vote, and you can vote for 5 options. And these are the 5 options. And basically what we've tried to do is say, the first option is that you see this Neo store and actually it doesn't even register with you. You're not even interested. There's nothing going on, but you're so busy you don't care about it. So you walk past it. What a gimmick. The second option is, well, actually, you get a little bit aware. You register it, and you even go over and you start playing with it. It's one of the interesting things you do that afternoon, so you decide to let your friends know about it later. The third option is, well, actually, you had a few sports products in mind you want to buy for Christmas. And you thought, well, why not check these out? Because I'd like to know a little bit about them and maybe there's a good price. The fourth option is that product is there and it's of a reasonable price. It's not the cheapest, but it's reasonable and it's going to get delivered to your home. So do you try it? Choose that if you try it. And the final option is, in some way you got engaged. But not only did you get engaged, you will go back and you'll try again. So I'd like you to choose from these 5 options, and as they are increasing in engagement levels, then I'd just like to see kind of where the emphasis is on this idea. And I think Martijn, my beautiful assistant, has some results. Okay, quite a skeptical audience. 25% say that they would not even look at it. 75% say that they would look at it and play and mention it to their friends later. Who's in the 25% that say that they wouldn't even stop and look at it? Is this working? I'd like to know, please, really, there's nothing else going on. There's nothing else going on. This says something, but there's nothing else going on. It's cold, it's dark, there's a shop window, it's Adidas. You're not even going to stop and look at it.
Well, I guess Adidas is not my brand. So.
You don't work for Nike, do you?
Oh well, maybe I would stop then.
Okay, good answer. Very, very, very good answer. Okay. Yeah, definitely brand loyalty will make a big difference, of course. But I think, just imagine if one shop starts doing that and you start stopping and getting engaged. what will your competitors do? What will Nike do? Won't they have to launch something similar? And just imagine when a few stores have this. Won't it become commonplace to go out and try this out and maybe even order from it? And then just imagine, what's 9 to 5 mean anymore? Why does a shop need to be open for you to order from it? Why go shopping in the day when you can go after work? Everything's still available and get it delivered at home. So this is the way that perhaps emerging technologies could develop, and perhaps how they can snowball into something that's very engaging. And I want to take that mobile phone and I want to think about it more as just a general consumer device. Because when we look at the mobile phone and when we see that the smartphone, the Apple smartphone, has become so successful, we know that it's done this because it's been so intuitive and easy to use. And there's a school of thought, and I sign up to this school of thought, that these consumer devices will become easier and easier and easier to use. And the way that they will become easier to use is that they'll become more natural to us. Because we like to just talk and think and have things happen for us. We don't want to have to exert any energy to get technology to work from us. We all know that. We don't want to use programmable video recorders anymore. And so just as the human species, just as the animal species are naturally selected, so will we select the technology that we want to use. And the other things will die away because they're not successful. And those technologies that have some good features will see those features enhanced and inherited by the next and inherited by the next. So one day, I believe one day, we will be wearing embedded sensors in our body. One day they will be there. We will be cyborgs, essentially. And as we go there, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And as we go there, as marketeers, we will get more and more opportunities to identify the consumer and interact with the consumer as we go. Of course, there will be regulations and some restrictions and legalities. Of course, those will need to mature and control this, but we will get there, just as human cloning will get there. Animal cloning has got there. And so, just to give you an example of what I mean by this human interaction, why this becomes more and more important, I want to show you a video of an armband called Myo. Maybe some of you have seen it. It reads the sensors in your muscles, and through that it translates those motions into commands for different technologies. Let me run the clip. So cool. I've seen it so many times, but it's so cool. And just imagine, okay, Samsung smartwatch, who wants it? But just imagine if it could also do this. Oh, someone does. So wearables will appear. Wearables will appear, I submit to you. And I submit to you that just think what phones were in 2000 and then the introduction of the iPhone in 2007. What a leap from 2000, the Nokia banana iPhone, to the smartphone in 2007. We already have things like this Thalmic Labs. It should come out next year, I believe. We have the smartwatch from Samsung. We have Google Glasses already here. 7 years' time, won't they be there in everyday use? And where will they be? Maybe they'll be helmets, maybe they'll be glasses, contacts, wristbands, armbands, so forth. And there's a survey that was just released on the 18th of September by a company called SSI. They surveyed about 4,000 people around the globe. And they asked them, where would you wear wearable tech? And these were the percentages of the respondents saying where they would prefer to wear this wearable tech. And most people said glasses and wristbands. That's kind of not surprising because we know that glasses exist and we know that the smartwatch exists, so we're familiar with it, so we want to use it like that. But essentially, these wearables could be anywhere, on your head, on your shoulders, on your knees or your toes, or your head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Let's just have a look at some of the ones that exist now, though. So I'll start with you must have been dead or not listening or very, very busy not to know that Samsung has launched the Galaxy Gear smartwatch. And I just want to give to you very quickly, because I see people waving at me, I'm running out of time, very quickly the idea behind these devices today and how that might impact marketing. So today there's a number of quotes here, but basically what the industry is saying is that a smartwatch is just an extension of your phone. So maybe your phone is in your bag or you left it upstairs, but an urgent call comes through, and because that person is on your urgent call list, it notifies you on your phone. Or an email comes through, and because that person is a VIP, that person comes through on your phone. It doesn't sound like the killer app to me. But there's a school of thought that also says, well, if you look at someone like Apple, they make so much money out of apps. So maybe they'll use the smartwatch as a way to sell more apps to the consumers. And that could well be the case. And an example that we can see already is Vivino. I'm not sure exactly how you spell this. Vivino is an app that comes pre-installed on the Samsung Galaxy Gear smartwatch. And together with this app, you can take a photo of a bottle of wine or something, and it will then search the archives of Vivino for what this bottle of wine is, and it will bring up some information about the wine. So, whether it was a good year, whether that was a good bottle of wine. For those of you who really drink wine, it's probably something that you might like to have. I mean, I don't drink it all the time, but I can never remember what wine I've had or what wine's good or not. So I might use this. So this is just one example of the apps that might be coming out on your smartwatch. The second thing the emerging trend for wearables I want to bring out is around the wristbands. And the point of the wristbands is not that they're wristbands, because they could be worn anywhere on your body, but the point is that they read activity data from you. So it monitors how long you slept for, monitors whether you're running, how many steps you've taken. It can monitor various things about your behavior and therefore determine something about your lifestyle and potentially about your health. So the idea that's coming through is that people actually like to know this information so that they can improve themselves, so that they can improve how healthy they are. And perhaps these wearables will become also incorporated into a smartwatch, for instance. Let's just take an example of one. There's quite a few. The Nike Fuel Band. This is the Jawbone Up. You wear it on your wrist. It collects data about you, how long you slept for, how much activity you've been doing. And in addition, on your smartphone, you can add some information about the type of food you're eating. So you get this holistic view about how you're living your life. And you can use that then to get advice, essentially. So it gives you advice. And here it says, actually tells you how your friends are doing as well. So maybe you're competing against a friend for a race or something, and it can potentially give you some tips on how he's doing or she's doing against you. And it can also give you some information about, you need to sleep more, or you didn't do as much activity as you did last week, this type of thing. Perhaps as marketeers, we could use this as a way to identify people that are really health conscious, really want to keep fit, and we can target them with the right promotions at the right time. So if someone wants to buy cod liver oil anyway, and you just happen to let him know that there's an ATOS 400 meters away from him where it's on great discounts. Example of the quantified self and some of the wearables there. The final one is the most promising, and that's the Google Glass. The point about the Google Glass is really taps into many senses of the body. So it's very visual. You don't need to get your phone out to look at it. It presents you data as you're looking just in the real world. So you look into a restaurant and the menu pops up. You look in a store and you can see what's on discount. And no, there's no paper. You don't have to search for anything. All of this is instantly presented to you. So it's very efficient and very easy for you. The other thing is that the back of it has a kind of a vibrating piece that transmits sound to your ear. So you obviously can receive calls and information through hearing. And also with the improvements in speech recognition, you can talk to it. And as that improves, you'll be able to talk more and more naturally to it. So you could look around, and as in the idea of Glassian, which is an app that will come with the Google Glass, you could look around and you could see maybe something you want to buy, a nice bag, and you can say, Glass, I want this. And Glass will look at that, it will recognize there's a bag there, and it will identify, what is that bag? What is that item? And it will do a search for you. And then you can say, well, glass, find a store nearby. I want to go and have a look at that for real. Or if you know you want it, maybe it's even a friend who's showing it to you, just say buy. Google already has its wallet. You already have your details set up there. Why do you need to do anything around taking out your credit card? All of a sudden, this becomes a very seamless and easy experience. And I think one of the most interesting things for marketeers, and for those of you in the industry, I'm sure you would have heard of this, is this patented concept that Google's come up with called pay per gaze. The idea here is that there's a camera on the inside of the glass. It looks at your eye, and it can see, if you look at an advert in the corner of the glass, how long you look at it for. You can also see whether your pupil dilates. So, and as some of you may know, whether your pupil dilates or contracts gives some signal about your body, about whether you're excited by what you're seeing. So perhaps advertising might change. Instead of pay-per-click, you get pay-per-gaze. That's got a lot of marketeers worked up at the moment. That's it. This is my last slide, and that's all I really want to present to you. So there are three kind of wearables that are coming out. You know, the wearable, the wristband, the smartwatch, the Google Glass. I submit to you that today they're already here. I submit to you that in 2020 we will have one. The technology will be great. We will have one. Not only will we have a glass, we'll have the iPhone. Yeah, we still live in houses, we still eat bread, we still drink carna milk, but we'll have these things. And you know what? Maybe all of the stores will have a self-service portal. Maybe they all will, because a few of them will try it and then we'll like it. We don't need to contact anybody, we'll start using it. So what happens when many of those stores start to have these? What happens, huh? And look at all that data and all that information that will be available for us to start working with. So as we all start looking forward to shopping in 2020, would like to submit to you to think about some of these emerging trends that are here at the moment. Think about what they might be in 2020 and how they might drive your part of the consumer journey and the opportunities that might bring. That's all that I have to say. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing also your insights in the other plenaries and sessions. Thanks.
Thank you, Victor. There's a microphone in the gangpad. Over there. Are there any questions? No questions. You all believe that we're going to be wearing wearables and they're going to be everywhere? Okay. Well, I've got a question for you, Victor.
Thank you.
Actually, it's not about wearables. What can people find in the report you will be presenting? Because you now focused on wearables, but the orientation project is much broader than that. What will people find in the report?
At the very end of this, I can't forecast the future of what's in there, but we will be looking at many trends, and that's why I also present this. We started to look at a number of documents and study the researchers that are out already. So we've been looking at different types of trends. Technology is one of them. And what we'll be doing on October the 15th is we're running a kind of an innovation session for the whole day with the orientation expert group. We'll have Google there, we'll have some startups there and some speakers there. We'll be brainstorming towards what's there in 2020. In the report, you'll be able to find what we, if you like, dream up will be there in 2020. You'll be able to find what evidence there is to back the development of these various trends. And you'll be able to find what recommendations we might give. I think that's maybe one of the things that I started thinking about when I came here, is that we're all kind of trying to get ahead of the curve. And we think, well, actually, we just deal with mobile phone, we'll get ahead of the curve. Maybe we should already be thinking about Google Glass if we really want to get ahead of the curve. Because those guys that are ready with the mobile phones, they're already very, very far ahead. So that's one of the things that I think in our recommendations we'll be saying, how about looking at some of these new innovations? Because if you really want to get ahead, then don't look what's in your pocket right now. Look what might be on your wrist or on your eyes.
Do you see any interesting trend evolving from the Netherlands, or is it all coming from abroad? Is there any interesting Dutch company to look at in this field?
Lots of Dutch companies to look at that we work with at Deloitte. We work with at the moment. So I think food sector is a very promising sector for online at the moment. Lots of investment going in. I don't know if some of you might be aware of SuperDirect. Will be a retailer that's only online. It's operated by Sligro, and that will be there. I think Ahold are investing heavily in online. Jumbo also. I think there's lots of trends coming forwards.
Okay. There was supposed to be a sign when we had to end, but obviously the other groups already stopped, so we're going to finish here. Thank you very much, Victor.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. Thank you.
For hosting this session.